There are probably 7 personal finance lessons that I've learned from books and experts that changed the way I deal with my money forever. In fact, now I'm a property owner. I have saved over $300,000. If you're just someone that is in need of some decent reminders on personal finance, then here are the 7 personal finance lessons that changed my life forever. Number 1 is going to be a lesson from Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Perhaps the single most important concept I found in his book is how people spend their money depending on their income. Poor people make an income, and then all of that income goes towards expenses. The moment we graduate from having a low income to having an average income, you start thinking about getting things like cars and housing. The problem with that is now all your income is going towards liabilities. And liabilities are things that take money out of your pockets. Why? Because you borrowed money to buy the thing. And so the middle class has an income, the income goes towards debt, and then what's left of that income then goes towards expenses. The rich, according to Robert Kiyosaki, on the other hand, takes their income and puts them into assets. And assets can be real estate, it can be stocks, it could be intellectual property, it could be a business. And then these assets generates an income that then pay the mortgage, the living expense. And so this concept leads into the next 3 lessons. Lesson number 2 being the definition of an asset. Not everything you buy that you can sell for money is an asset. I have a very strict definitions of assets that I've developed over the years from reading all of these books. And so to me, an asset is anything that pays you money, cash flow, over time. And so a home you're living in with a mortgage payment is not an asset. A rental property, on the other hand, is definitely an asset. A dividend stock is an asset. A bond could be an asset. Intellectual property and businesses that pay you a cash flow are also assets. And so in the beginning, when you don't have assets, most of your time should be thinking about how you can increase your income to a point where you can buy assets, or increasing your skills to a point where you can create the asset. And so this leads me to my 3rd point on investing. And it's the idea that passive investing beats most active investing. I would have made more money if I had just put my money in the S&P 500 index funds. And that's a lesson I learned 10 years too late. Think about it this way. There are literally people on Wall Street being paid $200,000 and up just to beat the market. And most of them don't. And so if there are all of these people who are working 70 hours a week, who has master's degrees in mathematics and finance, who have access to the latest information on Bloomberg and analytics, and they have industry knowledge, and they're still not beating the market, what makes you think you can? You probably can't. And you probably can't afford the people who can anyways. Like, you probably can't afford being an angel investor and investing in private equity. You probably don't have enough money to put it in a hedge fund. And so for 99.99% of people, passive investing will beat active investing. Which leads me to point number 4, and it's the idea that time in the market beats timing the market. In Tony Robbins' book, Unshakable, he talks about how if you miss the top 10 trading days in the markets over the last 30 years, your returns are significantly lower. Just 10 days makes a world of difference. And so the idea here is to dollar cost average into the market instead of trying to wait for a dip and buy low, sell high. Because you never know when the low is and you'll never know when the high is. So whenever you get extra money, just close your eyes and buy. And so this leads me to tip number 5, which is the idea that being an owner is better than being the CEO. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, the CEO makes millions of dollars. How is just being an owner better than being a CEO? Well, let me put it this way. The owner is the person that hires the CEO. And in really big companies, we have a board of directors that are supposed to represent shareholders, and they're the people responsible for hiring the CEO. But let's pretend you're thinking about starting your own business. The goal is not to make $1 million while you're running the operations of this huge business. The goal is to eventually build a business where you can replace yourself with someone you hire. And you actually see this all the time. Just think about your favorite franchises. Some franchisees own one location, other franchisees own 10 locations. The difference is that the single location owner thinks of themselves as the operator. The 10 location owner thinks of themselves as an investor, an owner, and is able to hire operators. The sixth tip is the idea that wealth isn't a number. Wealth isn't getting to $1 million or $3 million or $10 million. Wealth is subjective. It's about knowing your expenses and knowing the numbers that will support your living. Your net worth is not your self-worth. And actually, the sooner you get over that hump for yourself, the sooner you can start building an actual net worth. Because there are so many people that have their self-worth tied up in things that make them look wealthy. But on the inside, they're broke. Their bank accounts are negative. On the outside, they look great. But the truth will always prevail over time. And rather than looking rich, it's much, much better to feel rich. And here's the seventh and final tip, and perhaps the most important tip. Job security is a function of replaceability. This means if you have high replaceability, then you have low job security. And so you really have to think about, in your company, who is the person that is viewed, that is perceived as the most replaceable by the people that make the decisions. And your goal, if you want job security, is to stay as far as you can from that list as possible. And unfortunately, that's just how workplaces work. And so some people are so sick and tired of that reality that they break out and go become self-employed, go start their own businesses. And that's when they learn the lesson that income is a function of value creation. The higher your value is being perceived by other people, the more money those other people would be willing to pay you. And before you say, oh, this guy is talking about perceived value, so he must be talking about faking it. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Because over the long term, anyone that you are trying to impress are actually able to see the truth behind who you are. And that is especially true if you are trying to start your own business. And hey, if you want to clean up your finances while watching someone start their own online business, then subscribe to this channel, because this channel in a few years will be proof that you can do the same. In the meantime, if you want to learn about 8 realistic passive income ideas for this year and beyond, then go watch this video right here.